Hello, everyone, and welcome to Magma Ragers episode 38. I am joined by Pandemonia as usual, and today we have a special guest, Lara. Lara is one of the major Fireside Gathering hosts in South Africa. So, welcome to the show, Lara.
Hey.
Okay, so a little bit of an intro to Lara. I'm not exactly sure how long you've been involved, but we'll get there. She hosts pretty much most of the major fireside gatherings that happen in South Africa, the ones we had at Rush and Rage earlier this year, and is our official innkeeper representative with Blizzard for the South African region. So that's pretty awesome. First of all, do you want to give us a little bit of a background as to how you actually got started with Fireside Gatherings?
Okay, yeah, it's kind of a weird story. But it's been about 2.5 years now, just a little bit over 2.5 years. And I started organizing with Francois
Mm.
this time. The one day it was Friday afternoon, and I was like, I want to do a fireside. I want to do a fireside. They were like kind of new to South Africa. And he's like, okay, well, you got 15 minutes to find a venue. So I was like, okay, so I found a venue. Um, I found some players and yeah, I did my first fireside. It actually happened to be a qualifier, weirdly enough. So
Mm.
I had to have 9 people. Um, but it was successful. And Martin Skanksy won that one. And yeah, that's how I got started. And I've been doing it ever since.
Mm.
So it's been a while now.
And that one was in Durban, I take it?
It was in Durban,
Yeah.
yes.
Uh,
It
okay.
was. A lot have been in Durban up until sort of the middle of last year. And then I started doing a few more in Johannesburg.
Yeah. So what is it that actually motivates you to do these fireside gatherings? What's the drive? What's the motivation for you?
Um, I think it's the concept of the actual fireside. Up until Hearthstone came along with this concept, people played in sort of isolated areas, and it's actually bringing people together
Hmm.
and playing and getting to meet people that you're playing against. And that for me is a big motivation. It works. It's a nice concept, and
Mm.
I get to meet the people that I'm playing with in my community and in South Africa.
Yeah, that's super awesome, and you do a great job at it. But when it comes to Hearthstone, what is it that you actually enjoy the most about Hearthstone, be it playing or even just being involved in the scene? Well, what's your favorite kind of moments in Hearthstone?
At the moment, not playing. um, the thing I like about it is, or the most that I like about it, is the fact that it's available on every device, except for, as my son pointed out, console. But but literally, it is. You can take it anywhere with you. You can go and sit in a restaurant by yourself having a cup of coffee and you can have a game of Hearthstone. Or you can sit at home and have a game of Hearthstone. That's the one thing I love the most about it. It's frustrating as hell because I always lose. I'm terrible at it. But yeah, I like the fact that it's available all over and it's free to play, apparently.
So when did you actually get started playing Hearthstone then?
Strangely enough, I got started playing Hearthstone just after it came out of beta.
Mm, okay.
I started playing, and in those days, I was actually quite a good player. And then I lost my account, and I was like, oh,
Ah,
stuff it, and gave it up for a while, and then got back into it. So it's been a while. It's been about almost 3 years now that I've been playing Hearthstone. I wouldn't say well, but I've been playing it.
yeah. Did you ever recover that account?
No, actually, I didn't. That's how I
Ah.
landed up with the current account of isister. So yeah, no, I didn't, and I didn't have an authenticator on my phone or recovery system at that point in time.
Mm,
So Blizzard have got a lot better with
yeah.
regards to that. So yeah, it's a bit of a bitch. Oof.
Yeah. That's all right. Yeah, and the one really exciting thing that you went to was the innkeeper summit. I believe that was last year, if I'm not mistaken.
That was last year, July.
Yeah. How did you get involved with that? How did that come about? Did Blizzard reach out to you? Did you reach out to them? How did that kind of contact
Okay.
actually work?
Yeah, that was a strange story. It sort of just after I did my first playoff in Durban, I mean in Cape Town, I got a message from my contact in France in Blizzard, and he said, "I've got a surprise for you." I was like, "Okay, I don't know what you're on about." And 2 weeks later, this invite came to the Innkeeper Summit, um, and I had the opportunity of going to meet with, I think it was 52
Hmm.
innkeepers from across the world. 10 of us were from Europe, the rest were from South Americas and Americas. And we spent 4 days chatting, learning about how to do better firesides. We got to meet Team 5, which was pretty awesome. Um, got to go to Blizzard headquarters. And we also got to learn about like how Blizzard came about with the concept of a fireside, which was really, I think that just endeared me more to wanting to do it. And their concept was that they're all magic players.
Yeah.
And so they get together on a Friday night magic.
Hmm.
And they wanted to bring that concept into Hearthstone. The people got together, learned from each other, and played together.
Hmm.
And it really endeared me to the whole concept, and it was a fantastic opportunity.
Yeah, that's
And I
really
got to
awesome. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure Pandemonia and I can definitely relate to the coming from Magic scenario there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
The whole social aspect, even though it's obviously the game that kind of is the glue, at the end of the day, like the reason you enjoy going to FNMs is, you get to see the people,
Mm.
you get to chat, and you end up becoming, I mean, some of my best friends are actually, Magic players or were Magic players at some point. So, it's just, and the joke also is, I don't know if you guys have ever experienced this, is if I meet somebody and you discover that they play Magic the Gathering, I can have hour-long conversations with somebody I've just met
Mm.
if it's about Magic. And the same, I think, is about Hearthstone as well.
Yeah.
Mm.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So what, if anything, did you learn that was, let's say, a secret about Blizzard or Firesides, or what juicy tidbit of information do you have for our podcast that people
Actually,
might not know?
um, they might not know. Well, actually, everything we discussed last year was implemented recently. So,
Ah,
like the geotagging and that sort of thing, it was all discussed last year at the summit. Um,
You just have to keep quiet and what, like, you can't, you're not really allowed to say anything until it's actually announced, right?
yes, well, yeah, kind of that sort of thing.
yeah, yeah. We
And
don't want to get you in trouble with the NDAs, but I'm just looking for the inside scoop.
You heard it first.
yeah, basically, I can't say anything. But they are, to say that the team that actually developed Hearthstone are an incredible bunch of people, really, and they like red wine.
um,
So
so was there other stuff that was discussed? You don't have to tell us what it is, but was there other stuff that was discussed that hasn't been implemented yet that we might see implemented,
Some
or
exciting
or
stuff
is
coming.
most of it being covered with the updates that we've seen?
no, there's still some more stuff to come. There's
Awesome.
definitely some more stuff to come. Yeah, it'll make innkeepers' lives a lot easier.
Yeah.
Um, because obviously being an innkeeper is not always the easiest thing to do.
Yeah, and that
So,
perfectly leads us on to the next question I was about to ask is what's the biggest challenge that you've actually faced being an innkeeper?
um, it's a toss up between numbers. You kind of organize and you land up with two people that arrive,
Mm,
which can be very disappointing. But bearing in mind that the reason that it's done in a a venue that is public, is that even 2 or 3 people playing is going to attract attention.
Yeah.
So that's a difficult, because you want to see these huge numbers that arrive, but it's not always going to happen.
Yeah, so you can put in like a lot of work and then be very sort of let down by maybe
Yeah.
lower attendance. And I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
you kind of just have to push through that, I suppose. I mean, it's the same thing in Magic. Like, if you're starting out with F&Ms, you're probably gonna get pretty low attendance to start with, and you kind of need to sort of push through that and just keep like the marketing going and stuff to actually let people know.
Yes, and sometimes you feel that a marketing route is working and it hasn't worked, and so you try something new and you just keep going, and that's that. There's been firesides with 50 people and there's been firesides with 2 people. So yeah, that's the biggest challenge I think that we face, and finding a suitable venue.
Yeah, with the right internet connection to handle in case you do get tons of people.
Yes.
And then the one big thing that I imagine viewers that are watching this will want to know is, do you have any kind of tips for people that are interested in getting involved in hosting their own fireside gatherings? I know Pandemonia is getting involved in some happening up at the Nexus there. Do you have any kind of tips and tricks, things they can avoid, or things they should focus on when hosting firesides?
I think the biggest tip is keep communication open with Blizzard. They're not always going to answer you, but if you're not 100% sure that something's going to be right, just double check with them. Also, do it legally. That's a big thing. I think we saw with the whole, the screen being released and and like all these firesides that popped up. Rather do something legally.
Mm.
If it makes sense.
Keep it legal.
Keep it legal. Seriously. But yeah, it's just communicate and also reach out to people that are in the community. You're not always going to have all the answers. None of us have all the answers. But keep your lines of communication open and speak to people. They're there to help.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think Pandemonia should do well to follow the rules or follow the law. Of all people, I think he'll be fine with that one.
No, he's awesome.
Pandemonia, he's a good boy, so.
I try my best.
He behaves.
As somebody that's almost a prospective innkeeper, Pandemonia, or like at least working with some innkeepers from the Nexus, do you have any specific questions maybe that you want to ask Lara? Advice that we could share with the viewers?
Well, one thing, from personal experience, that being both a player and an innkeeper are far more like I'm doing the the innkeeping, to help the community out. But like, I honestly throw my hats off to, innkeepers like Lara, because even just the one small one I did, I was like dead tired at the end of the day. I wanted to collapse, and I hadn't even been playing Hearthstone. So, like, I think people just need to also sometimes realize the amount of effort that goes into behind the scenes and even on the day to keep it, keep the event running smoothly. I nearly wanted to punch people, because, sometimes, like, especially when it comes to, and that's why, when I'm playing, I try to do my best, make sure you're on time, try to follow, whatever's happening, because, when people don't rock up on time, it has a knock-on effect for the rest of the day, and it just causes chaos. But yeah, I don't know. How does she do it? How do you do it, Lara? How do you not like end up punching people? That's my question.
Cool. I don't think I could punch people too well. So, but you know what? It's patience and it's understanding that everybody has a perspective. And I understand like the players get frustrated, like that for me. Like I start to stress when we're not on time, but I also understand that somebody's stuck in traffic, somebody's doing this, somebody hasn't updated their account, or they're locked out of their account. So you've got to understand everyone's perspective and just go home and have copious amounts of wine afterwards. Or
is that the secret? Okay.
Yeah,
is that the real secret? Copious amounts of wine. Okay.
and cry into your pillow quietly.
So
But yeah, it is takes a lot of patience.
hmm. So basically, be prepared for everyone else not to be prepared.
Yes.
That's definitely some solid advice. So, you've hosted like tons of firesides by now in Durban, Joburg, and Cape Town as well. Which has kind of been your favorite fireside moment or moments if you'd had to pick one or two?
Well, we had this really random fireside once, in Durban,
Hmm.
and I landed up with some really great friends from that. But I think it was my second one I ever had, and we just we actually had it in front of a fire, um, and we sat and we played games and we chatted, and for me that was the most relaxed
Nice.
here in South Africa. We also did a fireside in the US, which I absolutely loved. Um, we had we went to this old pub that was like over 300 years old, and also same concept, fire. Everybody just chatted. It was random games. There was no structured tournament, but it was fun, and
Hmm.
people got to know each other, and the community also came in. And I think, yeah, those two are the highlights for me.
Awesome. And then obviously, as we mentioned, there've been lots of the like really big firesides, the ones that like Rage and Rush. Obviously, one day the aspiring fireside or aspiring innkeepers might get to those kind of big events. Well, what are the like different challenges that come with those really large events versus the smaller, more casual firesides?
Oh, people. Yeah, that's definitely. Sorry. It's, trying to incorporate what everyone wants and trying to make everyone happy.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
I like to make sure that everybody's comfortable and happy at those events. It doesn't always happen though.
Yeah.
So, that's the biggest challenge. Um, and oh, yeah, there's a few, but I think the main factor is the human factor.
Hmm.
Logistics wise, I think if you've got the technical, there's always going to be a technical issue that pops up here and there.
Hmm.
Those are quickly sorted out. So Rage was a bit of an issue. We had no internet connection, so that
Yeah.
was, yeah. Um,
Yeah.
but we got that sorted out. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the human aspect and trying to incorporate everyone's needs.
Yeah, so on the one hand, you want lots of people to make all your work worthwhile, but then the more people you have, the more work you have.
Yeah, the more stressful it is
Yeah.
as well.
You want a lot of people, but not too many. You want like, I don't know. You want
The
like somewhere in
Goldilocks.
between.
The Goldilocks amount of people.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, but yes, you need the people, you need the exposure, and sometimes when there's a bigger group, the unfortunate aspect is that people get lost in that group.
Mm,
You have people that you tend to speak more to,
mm,
and then individuals fall away, and that's also a big factor. Although we seem to have had a lot of turnout, a lot of players that joined in at Rush and at Rage who've joined the community and who've stayed, which is an awesome concept.
yeah, especially with those, having a lot of visibility with like Rage in particular. It was just, open there on the floor, and we had lots of people coming past on the Friday and asking about it and those kind of things. That great passerby visibility that you were talking about with like public events. I mean, Rage isn't quite a public event, but it's close to. I mean, 40,000 people. You're bound to get some people interested in Hearthstone coming along the next day.
But we had, like, I know on the Saturday, we had random people just coming up to the set and taking pictures.
Mm,
And I was just like, oh, we're going to take a picture here. So, yeah, kind of just built up a bit more of awareness.
yeah.
And you're like, do you want to play? And they're like, no, we just want a picture. So, this is a good, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Any other thoughts about firesides that you want to share with any of our listeners?
Yeah, I just like to encourage people to actually do them. I know it's a bit tedious, with the whole getting your tavern established, although Dale, you guys find it quite easy here. Like on the first day, it was established for them, so it was quite easy. But more people kind of doing firesides would be great. In like there's a lot of people in little towns that want to do it as well. Um, and they might be worried about, oh, we're not going to have 50 million people. That's fine. Unless you're running a qualifier, don't even stress about it. You can have 5 people and it's still successful. So go for it and do it.
Awesome.
And if you need help, I'm here.
So if people want to get hold of you and want to ask you for advice, what's the best ways they can get hold of you?
Probably Facebook. Yeah. They can also email me. It's like isister77723@gmail.com. Okay.
So like your Twitter handle, but at gmail.com. We do have your Twitter handle on screen, so.
Okay, cool.
If people tweet at you, are you ever gonna respond to that though? Do you ever actually look at Twitter?
Yes.
Okay. So they can tweet
Yeah,
at you as well.
I try to respond to all messages, so yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, cool.
From my side, I'd just like to say, a big thank you for all the work you do on behalf of the community. I mean, I think the work that you've put in has been really massive to help raise the South African community in particular for Hearthstone. And I mean, even like our North African counterparts were very impressed when they came down and saw all the awesome work that's being done here in the firesides. So big thank you from us in the community.
Thanks.
And speaking of communities, now we're going to talk about the community you enjoy the most, the esports side of Hearthstone. We've had two events going on over the last week and weekend. Pandemonia has some news about Game Goon, I believe it was, that happened over this weekend.
Game Goon, yeah, it was quite. I believe it was an invitational, and what happened is they invited quite a lot of professional players, and it was quite there was a lot of social media surrounding it. A lot of big names were going there, and in a sort of amusing twist, everybody's favorite memer, Jackie Chan, actually won it.
Yeah.
And what was really amusing is his lineup was considered by quite a lot of people to be a meme joke lineup, and then he kind of won the whole event. And then when people look closer, they realized that his lineup was actually quite a good, meta core.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. He definitely went off meta to actually counter the meta and got really rewarded for it. And that's something, like often he can be accused of bringing bad decks or meme decks to tournaments, and people don't necessarily always take him seriously as a player. But he proved there once again that bringing these off-meta things can sometimes work, and he is obviously a really good player as well as a fun streamer to watch if you like seeing the meme decks.
Yeah, I mean, he's played everything. I mean, he started Egg Druid. I mean, just like for those interested, the priest deck he brought there, I was just looking at the list. It is a tempo priest deck that runs cards like Injured Blade Master, and I don't even know the name of the 3-mana 3/3 that buffs another creature.
No,
I don't even know what
it's a 2/2 Shadow Ascendant.
Is it?
Yeah, Shadow Ascendant. I think if we're talking about that one, the one that buffs the end of turn, yeah.
I think so, and so he was really playing some interesting decks.
Yeah, that's a really good result for him. So happy for him there. We also had Trinity Series concluding with its kind of league or group stage over this last weekend, and we have our 4 teams that have qualified for the offline final stage. It's going to be Planet Odd, Team Liquid, Virtus Pro, and Complexity all getting through on a 4-3 record. So it was really close. With the other 4 teams that just missed out were all 3 and 4. So it shows you how extremely close that tournament was. And I mean, I think personally the 4 teams that made it through were, I'd say, like really top teams. I mean, I'd say like Team Love You Lots is probably the one that I'm sad to see miss out. The team with Muzzy, Zale, and Chucky. I'm a bit sad to see them miss out, but Planet Odd they have a really stellar roster these days. Team Liquid maybe a little bit more of a surprise, making it through. But yeah, I mean, definitely some good teams making it through. So it's going to be very interesting to see that offline final. Always great memes that come out of Trinity series when you can listen into the players, but they
Yeah,
won't
I'm
be.
just a bit sad.
Yeah, the memes won't be quite as great without Chucky. That's all I have to say.
I'm a bit sad that G2 didn't make it because I mean their team are I personally felt I mean Nigeria, RDU, and TUS. I thought I'm really like a bit sad that those are three really top tier players. But I
Mm.
mean then again all the teams are pretty good, right? I mean there's no real team that you can say are bad per se.
Yeah, yeah. I think they started off with Lothar in
Yeah.
the G2 team, and then only later when they actually signed Naria from Liquid, that they actually did add Naria to the lineup. And kind of, I suppose this is the first time we've really seen the players or the lineups change a little bit. It's good for complexity as well for players like Tyler getting another kind of good breakout performance. And I mean, Liquid Dog once again proving that he is still a very good player as well, even though he is by far more focused on streaming these days.
Yeah. And being a meme as well.
Yeah. But anyway, thanks once again to Lara for joining us, and thanks again for joining me, Panamonia. That's all we have for this episode 38 of Magma Ragers. So from myself, cheerio.
All right.
Thank you. Bye bye.